This story happened to a friend of mine on the deep web. I had a pretty scary experience too, but mine was a few years ago. The story happened to my friend just 1 week ago. For those who don't know, the deep web is pretty much the internet that isn't indexed by search engines like Yahoo, Google, Bing, etc. It can only be accessed by special software such as Tor. To give you some context, this is the friend that showed me how to get on the deep web. He's always been really fascinated with it, but after my horror story experience with deep web hackers, he took a long break. He did not resume using the deep web until about a year after my story, but he didn't tell anyone. He would buy stolen Apple products, drugs, etc. About a week or two ago, he was buying some cocaine. It wasn't from the seller he normally buys from though, but it was really cheap, so he gave the seller his address and a fake email, which he used to stay in contact until the deal was done. He wasn't too worried. This guy seemed professional, and it was the same procedure for most of his purchases. My friend told him to ship it in a movie case or something, so that his mom wouldn't expect him to be receiving drugs. This was probably his biggest mistake. He let the man know he was just a teenager, but my friend wasn't the most careful of people. A few days later, his mom walks in the house and hands my friend a movie that he had ordered online. He took it and opened it up, but inside there wasn't any cocaine, just a piece of folded up paper. He opened it up and it read, "There has been a problem. Email me for the details." At the bottom, the man left a new email for my friend to contact. My friend got on his email and asked the guy what the problem was. He responded, "Something has happened. If I were to send it to you, it could be traced back to me, and we'd both be caught. Meet me at the elementary school at 7. We will just do it in person." The school wasn't too far away, so my friend told my mom he was staying the night at my house, and he headed off to meet the man. He called me and asked if I could be there with him, but I was really busy with my schoolwork, so I couldn't. I did tell him to take a knife or something though, just in case things went wrong. He got to the parking lot outside the school. He heard a car honking its horn. He saw it was a Jeep, but the plate had been covered by duct tape, and the windows were tinted very dark. The man got out of his car and gave my friend the drugs, and then paid him. It seemed like everything went fine. My friend got in his car and sat there a bit in order to call me until everything went fine. He noticed then when he hung up, the man was still there. Why was he waiting? He didn't think too much of it, and drove off. When he got to the first red light, he noticed the man's car was right beside him, and he started to get a little nervous, but kept driving. When he reached his neighborhood, the man was still following him, so he decided it would be a bad idea to lead him to his house. He instead turned into the next neighborhood, and took a whole bunch of random turns, hoping to lose the man. Eventually he no longer saw the car, so he pulled up the car into his garage, and called it a day. That night, he noticed the sound of a car engine. He looked out his window and saw the man's car parked in the driveway. He got wide-eyed and snuck downstairs and peered through the window. Inside the car, the man was smoking a cigarette and talking on the phone, but in the passenger seat, he also saw a second man. The second one was a lot more suspicious looking, even more so than the shady drug dealer man. The second man had messed up hair, a trashy shirt, and while it was hard to see, my friend could almost make out a scar from the massive burn on the side of his neck. He kept watching the two men, until the second man began to look at the window more and more often. Eventually he was just staring at the window my friend was watching them from. My friend decided he had enough. He was going to call the cops. He didn't care if he'd get in trouble at this point. He moved away from the window and called the police, who told him to grab a weapon or something to defend himself and wait for the police. He had waited for about 5 minutes when he saw a figure quietly come out of his mom's bedroom, who was still sleeping. The man shut the door behind him and noticed my friend had seen him. The figure sprinted towards my friend and would look like a knife race to his hand. My friend grabbed a pot from a nearby table and threw it at the figure, hit him in the face, and shattered. The figure screamed and fell to the floor. My friend turned on the lights and saw the second man with the burn rolling on the floor. His face was covered in blood and shards of glass were sticking out. His right eye had tons of blood pouring out of it. He must have been hit pretty hard. As the man began to slowly get up, my friend grabbed a kitchen knife and drove it into the man's shoulder. Another scream could be heard by the man. The man began to stumble over the front door when police sirens could be heard. Both men were caught on sight, but my friend's mom had been killed. Her throat had been slit, and she had 23 stab wounds and duct tape covering her mouth. My friend was arrested too for drug possession, and his trial is coming up, but he lost his mom because of it, so I don't think he will be buying drugs from the deep web ever again.